I volunteer at a small nonprofit that runs a community pantry and a weekly donation pickup. It's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where people greet each other by first name, where the word bored technically exists, but mostly just means a few exhausted humans holding clipboards and trying not to burn out. Nobody is there for prestige, nobody is there for money. People show up because if they don't, the shelves don't get stocked and someone goes home empty-handed. When I first started volunteering, things were messy. Not morally messy, not corrupt, just disorganized in that very specific nonprofit way where everyone is well-intentioned and overwhelmed at the same time. Donations came in constantly, but tracking them was chaos. There was one shared spreadsheet that had clearly been passed down through several generations of volunteers. Tabs were duplicated, formulas were broken, dates were inconsistent, items would get misplaced, high-value donations would disappear for a day and then turn up in the wrong bin. Nobody was stealing, but people started whispering anyway, because when systems fail, trust takes the blame. Last spring, I offered to help clean it up. I didn't announce a big plan, I just started fixing what I could. I made a physical sign-in sheet so we knew who was present during donation hours. I numbered the storage bins so items could be traced from intake to distribution. For high-value items, I took quick photos. Nothing fancy, just enough to show they existed and where they went. I also started posting a weekly thank you on social media that acknowledged donors without naming names, because privacy matters and gratitude doesn't need receipts. It worked. Not overnight, but steadily. Donations increased, mistakes dropped, the quiet tension faded. People stopped side-eyeing each other over the good stuff. The pantry felt calmer, like the room itself could finally breathe. And then Marcy showed up. Marcy joined around the same time I started reorganizing things. She was friendly in a loud, performative way. The kind of person who hugs you the second time she meets you and talks a lot about giving back and community impact. She had great energy, and at first I liked her. She volunteered consistently, which already put her ahead of most people. But Marcy had a habit. You'd say something in a meeting, and 2 minutes later she'd repeat it, slightly reworded, as if it had just occurred to her. At first, I told myself it didn't matter. This was volunteer work. Nobody was getting credit on a resume, right? Let it go. Be chill. Except she didn't just repeat ideas. She started claiming them. When new volunteers joined, Marcy would introduce herself as the one who revamped the whole operation. She'd gesture broadly at the shelves, the bins, the sign-in table. She started posting selfies from inside the pantry room with captions like, "Look what I built." And in the background of those photos, if you looked closely, you could see me carrying boxes or sorting donations or taping labels. It was irritating, but still, I told myself it wasn't worth conflict. The director hated confrontation. The volunteers were tired. This wasn't about ego. This was about food getting to people who needed it. Then a local business reached out. They offered a small grant to organizations that could show measurable impact. Nothing life-changing, but enough to upgrade refrigeration and reduce spoilage. The director was thrilled and immediately panicked. She asked me to pull the numbers because I had been tracking everything since the system overhaul. I spent 2 evenings after my day job cleaning the data. I made a clear report showing donation volume, reduction in waste, improved turnaround time. I wrote a 1-page summary in plain language so it was easy to understand. No buzzwords, no fluff, just facts. I emailed it to the director and CC'd Marcy because she had been asking for updates and I didn't want to look territorial. At the next meeting, Marcy walked in with printed copies. She started passing them around the table, smiling, saying things like, "I stayed up late on this, but it's worth it." People nodded, impressed. Someone said the numbers were amazing. Someone else said this was exactly what funders want to see. I sat there with my dumb little notebook and said nothing. The director looked confused, like she could tell something was off but couldn't quite name it. She didn't correct Marcy. Conflict makes her itchy, and I could see her choosing silence in real time. After the meeting, Marcy cornered me in the hallway and said, "Hey, can you keep feeding me numbers? You're so good with details." Like she was my assistant. I smiled. I said, "Sure." I went home furious. I alphabetized my own pantry just to burn off the energy. A week later, the business replied. They wanted a short presentation, a Q&A. They wanted to hear how the system worked, how we prevented waste, how we avoided fraud. Marcy immediately volunteered to present. The director said yes so fast I almost laughed. Relief will make you agree to anything. Marcy emailed me asking for talking points and the story behind the numbers. I sent her the same PDF she'd already claimed, plus a polite note telling her to review the process document in the shared drive. I did not remind her that I had written that document. I did not mention that I had updated it the week before with a new section titled Common Questions from Funders, complete with suggested answers. I told myself that if she was going to take credit, she could at least do the homework. Presentation day arrived. Marcy showed up in a blazer and wedges, radiating confidence like she was about to deliver a TED Talk. The funder representative asked her a simple question. What do you do when a donor drops off items that are expired or unsafe? Marcy froze for half a second, then smiled brightly and said, "We donate everything. We don't turn anyone away." The representative raised an eyebrow. Even expired baby formula? Marcy started rambling about inclusivity and trust. Then they asked how we tracked high-value items to prevent theft. Marcy said, "We rely on community trust." At that point, the director looked like she might pass out. The representative leaned back and said, "Your numbers look good, but your controls sound non-existent. Who designed this system?" Marcy laughed and said, "I did." And the director, bless her exhausted soul, said calmly, "Actually, that was Alex. They built it, and they run it. Marcy helps with outreach." Silence. Marcy went red in a very specific way, like a kettle that knows it's been caught. I stepped in and answered the rest of the questions. I explained the process, I gave examples, I cited receipts. We got the grant. Marcy has been quieter ever since. Now when she introduces herself, she says, "I help out sometimes." It wasn't dramatic revenge. Nobody yelled, nobody got fired. But watching someone try to sell your work without knowing it was yours and fail is a kind of peace that doesn't need applause. And honestly, that pantry has never run smoother.